Hello and welcome friends. In Unit 4, today we are going to discuss the theories of selling. So there are some theories of selling. We would not be talking about all of them. We would be taking only a few of them. Up till now we have talked about the sales management and I have given you a brief idea about sales management. But now is the time for us to discuss some of these theories. So the first theory that we are going to discuss is the Aidas Theory. And you would recall from our earlier discussions in this very subject that we have talked about this particular acronym AIDS. AIDS stands for attention, interest, desire, action and satisfaction. So here this theory is basically going to talk about these aspects only, and it basically says that the customer, when he is about to buy a particular product, he actually moves through these 5 stages. So first is he pays attention to the product, and then he starts finding the product interesting, and then he starts desiring the product, which is an intense liking for the product, and then he ultimately acts on his desire. He starts purchasing the product, and then after purchasing the product and consuming it, using it, then he may feel satisfied or dissatisfied, right? Now if you have a look at these stages, attention, interest, desire, action and satisfaction, they have been already discussed in earlier sessions when we were talking about advertising management. Now what we are going to discuss here in this particular theory today is we are going to discuss what should be the objective of the salesperson in these 5 stages. What should he try to achieve in these 5 stages when the prospective customer, when the prospect is going through these 5 stages? What should the salesperson target at, and what are the specific actions that he can indulge in to achieve these objectives? Now, as I said, the first stage is attention. Now here the objective for the salesperson should be to gain the attention of the prospect, right? And how do you do that? For that, the specific actions that are warranted on his parts are, he can use conversation openers. What do you mean by conversation openers? Hello, what a nice weather. आज मौसम कितना अच्छा है, आज गर्मी बहुत है. These are conversation openers. Very noisy, very hot. These are conversation openers. So you can use these kind of conversation openers to gain the attention of your prospect. Secondly, use this time to offer your product as a solution to the needs that the customers have. You use this time to suggest your product as a solution to all the problems that the customers are facing. So for example, if the customer wants some kind of a cooling device for his office, then you can suggest how your AC is going to be the best solution for this problem that the prospect is facing. Fine. And thirdly, what you have to do is you have to let the prospect relax. So these are the specific actions that a salesperson has to indulge in. In the interest stage, as we have already said, that these prospect starts finding your offer interesting. So the objective of the salesperson should be to retain the prospect interest, to ensure that the prospect remains interested in his offering. Fine. So what are the specific actions that you have to indulge in as a salesperson? You can use catalogs, flip charts and other visual aids. And you can also customize your presentation according to the specific needs of the prospect to whom you are talking, right? And this way you would be able to hold on to his attention. He'll remain attentive to your sales appeal. He'll show more and more interest in your offer. Third stage is the desire stage, when the prospect starts desiring your product. So your objective should be to make the prospect desire your product. So it is a higher level of liking for your product than just being interested in your product. So interested is he likes your product, but desire is the intensity of that liking has increased. So it's a higher level of liking for your product. So now how do you ensure that the prospect starts desiring your products, starts feeling that he should have your product, he should buy your product rather than any other product in the market? You have to respond to the objections and the queries which are raised by the prospect. So the prospect may have various questions about your products, about its attributes, about how this particular product is better than the other rival products in the market. So you'll have to satisfy those queries of the prospect. And then also you have to respond to the objections which are raised by the prospect. For example, he may say, oh, it's the end of the month, I do not have any money left in my bank account. So probably though your product is good, but I would not be able to buy from you right now. So how do you respond to such objections? You can, for example, say here, okay sir, what you can do is we'll arrange some credit facility. We can arrange some kind of udhar for you from a bank which we have allied with, and this way you can finance your purchase. So this way you can respond to the queries raised by your prospect. And when you are able to do that, the customer, the prospect again, would start desiring your product, right? Again, you can also do one more thing. You can share the reviews or the testimonials of the satisfied customers. This will make him feel that your product is a good one, because other customers who have already bought that product, they have a very good opinion of your product. So he'll feel more assured about this particular purchase that he's planning from you. So you can share these kind of customer reviews and testimonials with him. I'll give you an example, sir. वो आपके ऑफिस के बगल वाली कंपनी में जो शर्मा जी काम करते हैं, उन्होंने भी हमसे ये प्रोडक्ट लिया है और वो काफ़ी इससे सेटिस्फाइड है, उन्हें काफ़ी पसंद आया. सो दिस इज़ वन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ हाउ यू कैन मेक use of customer testimonials, customer reviews to make a particular prospect start desiring your product, right? So this is what you can do. These are the specific actions that you can indulge in. Then again, in the action stage, you have to ensure, now please understand, in the action stage what has happened is the prospect has paid attention to your sales appeal, and now he starts liking your product, he's feeling interested in your offering, and he starts desiring your offering. And now you want him to convert his desire into action. Means he should place an order. Otherwise there is no use just liking your product and just being desirous of buying your product. He should be making an order. He should be placing an order. So how do you make the prospect act on his desire? How do you make him place an order? So for that, again, some specific actions that you can go for. You can straightforward ask him for order. Sir, तो कितना लेंगे फिर आप? Sir, तो 2 units लिख दूं? Now, this is just an example of asking for order. So this way you can ask straight away, ask your prospect for order. This will make the prospect feel obligated to place an order, right? Or you can do what? You can offer your help in writing the order. Sir, तो क्या मैं आपका order लिखवाने में मदद कर दूं? This is an example of how you can help your prospect in writing the order. Now what you're doing is basically here you are indirectly telling the prospect that you are through with your sales appeal, and if he wants to place the order, now this is the time for him to place the order, right? So this is what you are trying to convey to him, but in an indirect fashion, in a roundabout fashion. Why? Because it would not look very polite to say the same thing directly, right? Or the third thing that you can do is you can review the points of agreement. What do we mean by this? I'll again give you an example. Okay sir, तो हमारा ये डिसाइड हुआ है कि सर एक AC आप लेंगे और सर उसकी ये वॉटेज रहेगी, वॉट इतने वॉट का रहेगा, और सर हम 2 साल तक आपको एक्स्ट्रा सर्विस प्रोवाइड करेंगे. सो दिस इज बेसिकली रिव्यूइंग ऑफ द पॉइंट्स ऑफ एग्रीमेंट. सो सम काइंड ऑफ अ इनफॉर्मल अंडरस्टैंडिंग हैज टेकन प्लेस. सो यू आर एक्चुअली reviewing those points, so whatever we have agreed upon. Again, this will give some kind of an indication to your prospect that now you are through with this sales appeal and he should now place the order. This is the time for him to place the order, right? So this is how you make your prospect act on his desires. And this is very, very important, because unless he acts on his desires, there is no use just desiring your product. If somebody is just desiring your product and not purchasing it, ultimately it is not materializing into any sales for your company and it is of no use. So you want him to start acting on his desire of purchasing your product, right? And then the fifth stage is, after having bought the product, the prospect now, who has now turned into a customer because he has now bought the product, now he'll feel either satisfied or he'll be dissatisfied. And as a salesperson, you would want him to feel satisfied. So your objective here would be to reassure the customer about his purchase decision, about her purchase decision. Many times what happens is, generally in these kind of situations, personal selling situations, we have discussed that personal selling situations, many times the products which are sold through sales, through salesperson, through personal selling, are products which are basically high risk products, high involvement products. They entail a lot of risk, time risk, money risk on the part of the customer. So you have to ensure that once he has purchased the product, now he doesn't start doubting his purchase. He doesn't start thinking that he has made a wrong decision of buying your product. So you have to assure him that he has made the right decision, that he has placed the order and that particular order is a good decision made by him. He has not made any error in judgment. This is what you have to assure the customer. And to do this, what will you do? You will follow up after the sales have materialized, after he's actually received the product, after the product has been delivered to him. You follow up. And what do you ask when you follow up? Follow up means you might visit that particular customer. That particular customer can be also, you can also make a phone call to that particular customer and then ask him whether everything is okay, sir, whether the product has been delivered on time or not, has installation taken place, sir, वो machine लगा दी थी, लोग आके सही टाइम पे लगा गए थे, कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं आ रही है. This is what you are going to ask, and this is called follow up. Post sales means after the sales. And in case the customer here is facing some problem, for example, he might say, नहीं वो बाकी तो ठीक है लेकिन थोड़ा fluctuation हो रही है. So then you will have to resolve those issues promptly, very fast. Now this will reassure the customer that he has made the right decision, because had he made a wrong decision, had that particular AC not been a good purchase, not a good quality purchase, then probably the salesperson who sold me that particular AC would probably never have called back. But since you are calling up again and again, now he feels assured that he has made the right decision. Now this is what you have to do in this particular stage. So this is what the theory of selling says, and these are the implication of theories of selling, the Aidas theory of selling for the salespersons, right? Now let us move over to the second theory, but before that I would like to make a disclaimer. See, I have made this disclaimer in earlier sessions also. See, please understand, customer and prospect are two different things. An individual who is interested in your product but he has never ever bought your product is a prospect, because he might prospectively buy your product, in future buy your product. So he is a prospect for you. But if somebody has already purchased your product once, he is a customer for you. So I might have made this kind of a mistake in using these terminologies. Instead of customer, I might have used prospect in places. So you please make amends for that automatically on your own. So prospect is one who has never earlier bought your product, but he is likely to buy your product because he is impressed with your product, or maybe he has taken a decision that he will be buying your product. The customer is one who has already bought your product once, and that is why here we have been using, in all these four stages, before the actual buying action has taken place, we are using the word prospect, and here I use the word customer, right? So this is the subtle difference between the two terms, but as a management and marketing professional, you should not use these terms interchangeably, right? Now let us move over to the right set of circumstances theory. So now what is the meaning of right set of circumstances theory? We'll have a look at that. Right set of circumstances means everything is right for sale. All the conditions are conducive for sales. There is nothing that may impact a salesperson's chances of converting a prospect into a customer or buying or selling something to a prospect. So everything is appropriate, the environment is perfectly fine, right? And so if still the salesperson is not able to make the sales, if the salesperson is still not able to convince the customer, then probably it is his own fault, right? So everything is right for sale. For example, the rivals are not strong enough, their products are not good quality products, the customer has sufficient purchasing power, the customer is willing to pay also, willing to buy also. So all the circumstances are absolutely perfect for the sales to materialize. But still, if the salesperson is not able to make the sales, then probably it is some kind of a shortcoming, maybe in his own presentation or maybe in his skills, because of which he is not able to make the sales. So that is what this particular theory says, right set of circumstances, right? We'll come back to this point after a few minutes. Now basically what we are saying is sales ultimately depend on the skills of the salesperson, because everything, the environment is conducive for sales. So whether or not you are able to make sales would depend on whether or not you are skilled enough as a salesperson or not, whether or not you are able to convince your prospect, right? So ultimately the success of the salesperson is dependent only and only on his own skills. So this is what this particular theory says, and that is why salesperson should give proper stimuli to evoke favorable reaction from the prospect. Now salesperson should give proper stimuli. So salesperson should do what? He should indulge in those actions which will lead to the prospect buying the product from him. So this is what we mean by stimuli. For example, the salesperson can offer a discount. Now this would act as a stimuli, and as a reaction the prospect would place the order, because now he's also finding the discount lucrative, so he would want to have that discount, so he places the order. So this is what proper stimuli means. Or again, for example, the salesperson can share the testimonials of other satisfied customers with this prospect, so as to reassure the prospect that okay, our product is a good quality product, and see, these are our satisfied customers. Now this will evoke a favorable reaction from the prospect. The prospect may place the order and may buy the product. So this is the only implication of this theory for the salesperson. You should give proper stimuli, right? But what is a problem? This actually does not happen in the real world. This happens in some kind of an ideal situation. This could happen, but it does not happen in real world, because the circumstances may not always be right. The prospect may not be willing to buy the product. He may not want to risk his money with your product. He may already have bought a product. He may feel like buying the same product but from a different company. So there are so many things which the prospect also brings into the transaction. And if the prospect is not willing to buy your product, he is not desirous of buying your product, that is something that has been neglected in this theory, and this does not happen in the real world. Factors internal to prospects have not been considered as important for sale. So factors internal to prospects are, for example, his willingness to buy your product, his risk taking ability. Would he want to risk his money with your product because he is trying your product for the first time, right? Or does he want to follow other people who have already bought your product? He does not want to be the first person to buy your product. He's looking for other people who have bought your product, and then he's going to follow them. So these are the psychological factors involved in the prospect, and these factors can also impact the sales. Because of these factors, the prospect may not place the order, may not buy the product from you. But this particular aspect has been neglected in this theory because the theory says that everything is right, including the prospect. So this thing has been neglected, right? So the theory says everything is okay with the prospect. The only problem is whether the salesperson has the appropriate skills or not. However, this does not happen in the real world. So this is one lacuna. This is one drawback. This is one shortcoming of this particular theory. This is the drawback, right? So friends, thank you very much for your time. We'll in the next session continue with the theories. Thank you very much.